really exciting stuff. We've got a video about how to make and optimize your titles for your YouTube videos. Title is one of the most important things for getting views on YouTube. You know, it's going to really affect your CTR, and a good title versus a bad title can have just a massive difference on video performance. I've got some really in-depth detailed stuff prepared for you. I'm going to try to keep it as organized as possible. However, it might get a little bit chaotic just because I have so much information that I want to present about this. Really exciting stuff. We've got a video about how to make and optimize your titles for your YouTube videos. Really exciting stuff. We've got a video about how to make and optimize your titles for your YouTube videos. Title is one of the most important things for getting views on YouTube. You know, it's going to really affect your CTR, and a good title versus a bad title can have just a massive difference on video performance. I've got some really in-depth detailed stuff prepared for you. I'm going to try to keep it as organized as possible. However, it might get a little bit chaotic just because I have so much information that I want to present about this. So, well, hopefully we can fix that in editing, and if not, well, you're just going to have to do your best to follow along, unfortunately. When it comes to YouTube titles, I think we can really break things down to just roughly 3 parts. I think every title on YouTube has 3 major parts to it. You know, first we have what I like to call the idea framing. Essentially just how you're presenting the idea of the video, how you're describing the idea that takes place within your video content. The second element we have is, of course, clickbait. You know, really important, just how do you get people to click on your video? Why would a viewer want to click on this video to watch? And what is the viewer clicking on the video to see? And then the third element I think we have is keywords. You know, what keywords are you targeting with your title? Are you trying to rank search results? What keywords are you presenting? If you want to ever rank a keyword at all, you must put it in your title. So that I think is as well a very important element. Now these first 2 elements I think are much more important than this second one. Keywords is actually not really important at all. I think you know, you're going to see a lot of titles that don't have keywords at all in them. You know, Mr. Beast, for example, doesn't put any keywords in his title. You don't see major keywords happening in Mr. Beast's title, but there is a little bit of a specific case depending on what style of content you're making where you might want to put a lot of keywords in your title. But we're going to get into that definitely in the rest of the video and explain everything. So okay, let's break down these 3 elements piece by piece, and then we'll get into a couple other ideas and concepts, talk about things in a more specific channel style, and then get into you know, examples and stuff like that. So first we have idea framing. So how are you presenting the idea for your video? So I think idea framing is something that Mr. Beast is really good at. He's got essentially, this is kind of, this here is a picture of a slideshow that I took from a presentation that Mr. Beast did at Vid Summit. For him, he thought that, you know, titles really need to be just kind of simple and a little bit more easier to understand and just short. A couple things that were mentioned were like, you want to keep your title under 55 characters long, because what you're going to find is that if it's longer than 55 characters, your title is going to get cut off in some places, especially if you're on like a TV or a mobile device. Mobile device especially is really important. You don't want to overcomplicate things. I think it's really important to understand that every detail, every tiny little element that you put in your title is something that needs to be there and must be relevant to the viewer. This one here, I went into 5 different stores and bought every single item, is just such a bad title because you can say the exact same thing in just, I bought everything in 5 stores, right? So the idea here is that if you're putting something in your title, it has to be really important, and you essentially want to make your titles basically as short as possible. But the problem is that if your title is really short, you're going to end up in a situation where you're basically just, your title's not interesting. Like, let's say you're making a video, you have a channel about just gardening. I don't know why I keep using gardening examples, but for some reason it just comes to mind. You're making a channel about gardening, and let's say you're doing a video about just how to garden for beginners, you know. So you could do your title, the most shortest possible title would be like Gardening Beginner's Guide. That title is not completely terrible, but what you're going to find is that it's probably quite oversaturated. You know, for example, if we go to something like, just search through the homepage and we just search like Gardening Beginner's Guide, you know, there's like 5,000 videos on this topic already. Titling your video like this is going to be really boring. You're not going to get any views, and essentially what you're missing in that instance is, of course, clickbait. Each title really needs to have a big element of clickbait. You know, clickbait I think is a term that the connotations with have become really a lot worse than it actually is. I think in this context for this video, when I refer to clickbait, what I'm talking about is essentially just something about your title that shows the viewer that your video has something that other people don't have. So this is essentially like what makes your video, like this is essentially just what makes your video unique and what is different in your video. And that is essentially, I think, what clickbait comes down to. So for idea framing, it's more just how are you presenting the topic. For idea framing, you've got to think, how are you presenting the topic of your video? Clickbait, what makes your video unique? What makes it different? And especially what makes your video worth watching? Especially against other videos of the same topic. And then keywords are really just about ranking search results. For example, like back in the day when people were doing Squid Game videos, you might want to put Squid Game in your title if you're doing a Squid Game video. It's really just about ranking search and capitalizing on a trend. If you're not ranking search and you're not capitalizing on a trend, you shouldn't worry about keywords in your title. It's not as important. Obviously the clickbait here is going to be what really draws people into your video, but I think also the idea framing has a really big just element to it. So we have this concept for a video and we want to make it seem like our video has something that no other video on YouTube does for this target audience. A really good way to do that is just present a big element of clickbait or present the idea in a way that makes it seem really interesting. So in terms of idea framing, a lot of this is just going to come down to what your video idea actually is. So if you're going to do a video idea, you could do something that's like really exciting to watch from the perspective of a beginner. You could do like, I spent 100 hours gardening from scratch as a beginner in terms of video ideas, but let's talk about like clickbaits and stuff here. So with gardening, just off the top of my head, you could do something like, stop gardening wrong. The actual best way to garden as a beginner. So this is an example title that we have of like, stop doing this wrong. And then you present your way as being just better and more valuable to everyone else. Another example title we could do is something like the truth for gardening as a beginner. So here we're making it seem like we have some little special piece of information that nobody else has. You know, this is just off the top of my head, but I have some really good tools that I'm going to show you in the rest of this video. But I do think actually a really big part of this as well is just the idea framing. So idea framing is really just how you present the idea that takes place in the video, and obviously what you actually do in the video affects that a lot. But so for example, one channel we've been working on a lot recently is kind of a channel where we're doing like some finance content, a lot of our other IRL content as well. I think I showed this in a previous video, but I'm just going to pull it up here again as well really quick. We have this series where we essentially are just trying out TikToks based on certain categories and just seeing if they work. So you could do a title, let's say we have gardening TikToks, let's continue that. So you could have a title that's like trying gardening TikToks to see if they work. This title, in my opinion, is quite bad. First of all, just trying something out isn't necessarily that interesting because what we're trying, gardening TikToks, in this video is not super exciting. To see if they work is as well just a completely irrelevant element. Like, you don't even have to put this in your title at all because, like, obviously you're gonna see if they work, right? And just the concept of trying out TikToks is not really that exciting, right? So this is how we're doing kind of our titles instead. You can see here, like, instead of trying out gardening TikToks to see if they work, it's exposing TikTok's most viral gardening hacks. That would be our title for this video. And it's the exact same video, right? What you have is the exact same video, but we've got a title that is much more exciting. It's framed in a way that makes it seem like there's a lot of drama and just excitement, and we've got a really good clickbait element of we're not just trying out TikToks, we're trying out the most viral TikToks, we're exposing them, it's going to be crazy. Keywords, not really as important, but, you know, just TikTok gardening hacks, I guess, would be the keywords for that title. But yeah, so that's kind of like just the base core concept of what you want to do with your titles, is you just got to try to creatively present the idea of the video in a way that is essentially most interesting to click on. Next, I want to show you just a couple tools that I think are really awesome that you can use for coming up with titles and especially expanding and improving upon your title ideas. So first of all, we have this kind of chatbot that this AI chatbot that I talked about in a, I also talked about this during our video ideas segment of this training material. And so this, I think, is a really fantastic tool to come up with title ideas, excuse me. Let's say you're doing cooking videos. It could be gaming or just anything, it's going to work. This is going to work for everything. And this is really just a way to come up with title ideas. So let's say you have a cooking video about vegan recipes and you want to come up with a title for it. So let's say your video is just 12 vegan recipes or something like that. And so we can ask this chatbot here. It's a really, really advanced AI chatbot that just will answer your questions using machine learning and just all sorts of complicated stuff that I don't understand. But my friend Devin Nash showed me this tool. It's really, really awesome. I think using this for YouTube titles is one of the best applications I've been able to come up with for it. So going back to our example, we have this idea of 12 vegan recipes. So we can literally just straight up ask this bot, what is a good, actually I'm not going to ask for what is a good YouTube title, I'm going to ask for what are 30 good YouTube titles, so we don't just get one. What are 30 good YouTube titles for a video about 12 vegan recipes I made? And here we have just an array of just title ideas. Now these titles I think are written from the perspective of more of a news article, not so much a YouTube video. But you can see here, it's just kind of giving us ideas for what to do for our clickbait element here. And we've just got 30 ideas, 12 delicious vegan recipes you have to try, 12 recipes under $10, 12 vegan recipes for healthier you, kind of stuff like that. 12 vegan recipes you can make in 30 minutes or less. That one's not bad. These titles are not bad. It's just kind of like ideas. One of my other favorite tools that we use for titles specifically, this tool, which is becoming a lot more popular these days with creators, is this tool called creatorml.com. By the way, this other website is chat.openai.com. Here we have this tool. So this is a really good tool for just comparing title ideas. So what we might want to do is take these 30 title ideas. So just to give you guys an example, obviously you want to do this with your own title ideas. And so what it's going to do is it essentially will give us a ranking of which title is the most likely to perform well. Obviously the thumbnail for these is all the same. So we're just comparing the titles here. So easy vegan meals for every day of the week. So obviously the predicted views is not realistic or anything like that, but it's just a really good tool to use AI to just kind of judge which title is maybe a little bit better. It's just a tool for you to use to compare title ideas. Like usually coming up with just a bunch of title ideas and then comparing them is really good. Now let's talk a little bit more about just what kind of title you want to be doing. So I think we have a few just channel styles that I think are, depending on what kind of channel you're doing, you might want to do a certain title. So let's say we have kind of an entertainment-based channel. Essentially you're just making entertainment-based, you're just making videos that are fun to watch. You just want to entertain people. We have info-based channels where you're maybe teaching someone, like I'm doing to you right now. And then we have kind of just other stuff, I guess. So I think for entertainment-based content, you really need to clickbait based on the video idea. This is kind of like your Mr. Beast, your Arax, Ryan Tran, Matthew Beam type of stuff. Your clickbait needs to be based on the video idea, and to get a good clickbait, you essentially need to make your video idea concept as crazy as possible. And it kind of goes back to this style of title. You want to be doing this essentially thing where you just make the title as short as possible, but then instead your video idea is so good that it just clickbaits people by itself. Titles are just all about idea framing, just framing the ideas in a really interesting way for people. So I want to I'll show some examples actually. A lot of the times we might, especially if we go to our more popular videos, like we might clickbait based, like it's about the idea and then we just kind of clickbait based on the idea. Like there's no crazy clickbait elements in these titles, but rather what we do is you make the video itself into a clickbait element, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of these are just like, I got trapped in a place, so I got revenge. So the clickbait element here is really what kind of place did he get trapped into? A Sky Limit prison? Sky Limit was a really big one for us, getting trapped in the void as well. So you got to just think about what is the most interesting way that you can present your video idea to a viewer. For info-based content, I think we have 3 main ways that you should be clickbaiting your stuff. I would say you want to be clickbaiting based on urgency, speed of results, or unique information. So I like to, this is kind of how we do our info channels. So we've got a few info channels for just examples I can show you here. Just our classic info channel is our World of Warcraft channel. This is just our kind of just our pure info-based channel. Like, you know, I've personally done a ton of stuff in the past that sometimes it's info content, sometimes not really, but this is just the best example I have for titles that are info-based, for info-based content. So these examples here are about speed of results, how to get full gear in 1 week. This is a really good title because obviously just getting full gear is what that essentially means is just basically just equipping your character with a bunch of really good items. And we had a video about the fastest way to do that. If this video's title was just the fastest way to get fully equipped items on your character, it's not really that interesting. But the idea, the clickbait here of just doing it in 1 week is really interesting because a viewer will see this and they'll say, hey, there's this thing, I've been working on this for like 3 weeks already, and this video tells me how to do it in only 1 week, even though I already spent 3 weeks doing it. So I'm going to click on this video and then figure it out and then see how it goes. So we have this video as well as how to do it in 1 hour. And obviously the time element should be realistic, but extremely valuable to the viewer, to where it's like if we did a video on how to get full gear in like 5 minutes, it's not a good title because it's so obviously fake and clickbait that, you know, there needs to be an element of realism. I think that's important as well. So time urgency, we have this one. It's like how to get to level 60 as soon as possible. This one is a really good one. Things you need to do ASAP. Like, you have to do it right away or you're going to be at some disadvantage. The viewer needs to watch your video immediately, otherwise they're going to miss out on something. And so the last one we have is unique information, which I think as well is a really great title style. So we've been doing that a little on the more recent videos, where we have this one, the only guide you'll ever need. The only Black Temple guide you'll ever need. The only Mount Hyjal guide you'll ever need. This is a really good title style for us because essentially it just presents to the viewer that we have unique information that nobody else matters, or that our information is so comprehensive that no other YouTube video for this specific thing matters. I think if you're doing some sort of info-based content where you're teaching someone, you're educating someone, you really want to be doing these 3 types of titles, and anything outside of these 3 is, you know, you just got to really make sure that that's like what you want your title to be. I think that's really the best way to do it. And so now we get into other examples. I think just as a general overview, the other title styles that I was able to think about is clickbaiting based on 3 other things. So we've got story, concept, and spectacle. So this is kind of the clickbaits we use on our Minecraft channel a lot. The first one obviously is story. I think clickbaiting on story is a really good one. My friends trapped me in a Skylimit prison, so I got revenge, right? Like, this video could literally, the video is literally just escaping a Skylimit prison and getting revenge. So if the video title was like, I escaped a Skylimit prison and got revenge, or even just I escaped a Skylimit prison, it's like so much less interesting, because here we immediately establish the story from the title. Like, we've got my friends trapped me, so we've immediately got like both a villain in the story, but also one that's like relatable in the sense because it's the friends of the main character. It's not like some just random enemy. It's a much more relatable villain. And we've got the story of like, I got trapped in the prison, so I got revenge. It's like, well, now you want to see, there's a lot of things that this title explains story-wise. Is, first of all, as a viewer, okay, you want to see how he escapes the prison, and you want to see how he gets revenge. So this title as well establishes 2 major elements of story that are a really big clickbait for our viewers. And that's how we pretty much got like, 250 million views based on this title concept, basically. We've been trying some other title styles on this channel now too, but this was really our most successful one for the longest time. Eventually just got stale because we literally made like 200 videos with this title style, but basically it's like my friends, or basically whoever the villain of the story is, did something, so I did something else to defeat them. That's what the title format essentially is. The best way to do a story is you set up a relatable antagonist. I think is probably the best word instead of using villain. A relatable antagonist, and you set up an element that the viewer wants to see, and an exciting climax as well. So, unleashing a giant, making an invincible army, getting revenge. A lot of these are just getting revenge. This one, so I drowned them instead. So the next one we've got is clickbaiting based on concept, which we've been trying to do a little bit recently. So I would consider that to be like this example. Not everything has been going really well for us on this Minecraft channel recently, but I just want to give you some examples of the title style. So basically, the concept is something about the video makes it worth watching. So this video is literally just escaping a prison, but how I escaped a prison that took 357 hours to make. Like, the concept here obviously is the prison taking 357 hours to make. They broke 2 million bedrock to make this prison. Can I escape it? Doing something that takes a really long time, or doing something that takes a lot of money. So the idea here is that you present a concept that makes your video worth watching because it has one of these three unique elements. And then the third title style is just spectacle, which I like to call kind of the Mr. Beast format, which is just doing something extremely crazy. And that will obviously come down a lot to the concept of the video, but if we go to like Mr. Beast, like a spectacle title is something like, I gave my 100 million subscriber an island. Like, that's crazy, like, holy shit, you gave away an island? Like, I want to see that. That's crazy, like building Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like, these are all kind of just spectacle titles, essentially. Now I want to showcase you guys a bunch of just examples of like specific things that I've used in my videos. So I have this document here about notes from the past. So these are essentially just different ideas for title keywords and not keywords, but clickbait elements that I've personally used a lot. Really like exposing, forbidden, prohibited, banned, illegal is a really good one as well. Just kind of give you some straight up ideas for things that you could put for your title for your clickbait elements. Abandoned, forgotten is a really interesting one, like corrupted, criminal. People really like this sort of like really, really smart aspects, like genius, big brain, 10 million IQ type of stuff. We've got like these adjectives of just viral. You can see kind of simpler ones, like these simpler ones aren't really that great. I'm personally not really a big fan of the simple ones, like best, greatest, most amazing, awesome. Like we don't really use these ones as much. I guess the way you can say is we don't use the lowercase ones as much anymore, but we do use the capitalized ones here, like viral, big brain, smartest, shocking, godlike, making it seem like you've got something that's really special in the video, like rare, impossible, small percent chance, unbelievable, unreal, superhuman, incredible. And then here we have just basically 20 ways to title a different video idea. So the idea here was Genji Deflects, which is a character in Overwatch. He has this move where he like deflects bullets, and it's a really exciting type of thing to watch because a lot of times the players might deflect a bullet and it goes in a completely different direction and kills like 3 other people. It's just a really exciting moment to watch, so we make videos about it on our Overwatch channel. Tricks that the pro players abuse that you don't, stuff that makes the video just seem like it has information that the player doesn't know. Or for these more negative stuff, it's like this guy just had the biggest blow up, just got so mad and angry, or he's like so incredibly shocked, blown away. This goes crazy, like so satisfying type of stuff. And then we have this format here that we were doing for these videos about Asmongold in the past. He's like this Twitch streamer. And so what we would do is we would have his name, because that was a keyword for us, does an emotion at what the element of the video is, and then there's a comment from the video. So he's blown away by Blizzard's new decision, the greatest patch ever. His brain explodes at this raid because he has the worst team ever. So I want to talk a little bit more actually as well about keywords. Now I specifically saved this to the last part of the video because it's easily the least important part, but we have these 2 examples of ranking search results and capitalizing on a trend. So what I want to do here is show you one of our channels where we did this before in the past, which is our Valorant Moments channel, this one right here. Specifically when Valorant was first coming out, way back in the day. Like now Valorant isn't really that popular anymore, but just way back in the day. We got some old League of Legends videos too, but just looking, so this kind of title, right? Why would we have a title that's this crazy long, for example, right? So this is, I think, how this is the example of how to put keywords in your title if you're trying to rank search results or if you're capitalizing on a trend. So again, you only want to focus on putting keywords in your titles if you are really intentionally trying to rank search results or intentionally trying to capitalize on a trend. Like for this previous example with the Asmongold videos, the keyword of Asmongold is a really big one. Like making videos about other creators is a really big trend. It's a great way to grow a new channel, really, to be honest. So putting the person's name in the title might be really important. But if we're ranking search results, we have this example here. And when we started this channel, the first like 100 videos, we did titles like this. And we experimented a lot with shorter titles too, and we actually found this to be the most powerful title here. So what do we have in this title? It's actually quite smart, I think, in my opinion. We essentially have a three-part title here, where we have this section, and then there's a space that is determined by usually about 3 or 4 punctuation marks. And then we've got some keywords, and then another space, and then some more keywords. Now what you have to understand is the perspective from which the viewer might see this title as. So what we said before is that videos on, titles get cut off after 55 characters on a mobile device, right? So what we have here is essentially just a title that gets cut off, but in a way that is set up very intentionally, because what happens is that this part of the title will get cut off. This part of the title is shown first, and then we have this small clickbait element here in the middle. And so the viewer will see it as this, essentially, where they see the first part of the title, they see the second part of the title, and the third part of the title gets completely cut off. This works really well because what we essentially do is we fill our title with as many keywords as possible, but we do it in a way that makes it so that what the viewer actually sees is the most important and still an actual, like, relevant short title. So, like, we have this video here. So first of all, we put Valorant first in the title because putting the keyword first helps us rank it a little bit stronger. And we also put it multiple times in our title, actually. And so what we were able to accomplish with these videos, actually, back in the day, was every time we uploaded for a span of about 6 to 8 months at the start of the game, we were ranking #1 on the Valorant keyword search term when we were using this title style. And we only stopped using this title style because the search results stopped being so significant. But anyway, so we put our most important keyword first, but just one keyword, like just the one most important keyword, just the same like with this example. And then we have our fully normal title, our fully normal just clickbait title of the concept of the video. Then we have a very small extra clickbait phrase, and then we have additional keywords that get cut off. And so really on mobile, actually, the person might only see this this first part of the title. So like we can look at this example on our notepad here. It says down here, length is 4. Before, so this is 44 characters long. So it's going to get cut off at about 55 characters. So what a mobile viewer is going to see for this title is going to essentially be something like this. Is Sage mains make genius plays, 200 IQ, or like 200 IQ. They might see 200 IQ tricks. They might not see the entire second clickbait phase, but you actually understand what you see here is that it's cut off. This clickbait phrase here that we have in the middle is set up in a way that if it gets cut off at any point, it's still an interesting clickbait phrase. Because if it's just cut off at 200 IQ, it's still interesting because it adds an extra element to the title. Same with 200 IQ tricks. Same with 200 IQ tricks that outplays. So this title is set up in a way to where it can get cut off comfortably at any point. This is important because certain devices will cut off the titles at a different keyword rate, right? So for example, if we go back, we're on a computer right now, if we go back to our title screens, you know, this title here is getting cut off at Valorant. You know, like, so it's getting cut off at almost 80 characters in, but that's because we're on a computer. If you're on a mobile device, it might get cut off like around here, and if you're on like a really small mobile device, maybe it gets cut off like around here, or sometimes here, but never, you know, you'll always be able to at least see like the full main title. And so this is really the most optimal way to spam your titles for keywords if that is what you're going for. That's really just the best way to do it that I've found, and this was really, really successful for us. You just, whatever you're trying to rank, you want to put that first in your title and then put it twice in your title at the end as well. So we were ranking Valorant, and this title style just was really effective for us back in the day. You do want to be just very careful with long titles. Like if you're doing long titles like this, it should only ever be because you're doing titles in this specific way, ranking keywords for this specific reason. One of my friends, that Devin showed me was this book actually that I bought recently and I'm reading. Is essentially just a book that has 6,000 like actual literal words for how to clickbait. So this book essentially just gives you like the literal phrases of like what, just ideas for stuff to use in your titles. This book is designed for like selling products, but you know, you can do this for video titles as well too. Like obviously this isn't designed for YouTube videos, which is why I'm not really showing it as a major resource. You know, you want to be kind of just evoking a feeling or just getting the viewer hooked in some way, presenting the concept as interesting as possible, clickbaiting them, proving to them in the title that there's something special about your video that makes it worth watching, that makes it interesting. You know, I know it's not perfect because everybody's channel is different, so it's really hard to just give a general overview of like this is the title you should make for this type of channel. But you know, I try to do my best with it, and we have like a few examples here at least for different channel styles. I think in the future I'll have some other videos for like more specific channel styles in addition to these. Stuff that isn't necessarily entertainment or info based. Or I've got some other resources as well for certain channel styles that are a little bit more specific, that we've especially got some text documents for those. So maybe you might find some use in those documents. But yeah, that's going to be it for the teaching on video titles. Hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching.